Hey, deserving listeners, happily ever after. Let's see what happens.
Do not put that on me.
I haven't done anything to betray your trust. Get over it.
Liz, since day one, I've had an issue with the people that are in your life. I don't want a girlfriend, let alone a fiancé, let alone a wife that wants to have a girls' night out, that wants to be in a bar.
You want a wife?
So that's the other angle of just like, you're defying me. I don't want... So let's analyze. Now they're editing it, so God knows. But is he saying what I think he's saying? Does he not hear himself? He says, I don't want a girlfriend who has friends that she spends time with. Now, if he said something like, you absolutely have friends, dude, but I don't want you going clubbing. I don't want you going out to the meat market-y places. That is it. Now, you can never dictate that to your partner the way that he is. You can ask. You'd say, I have no reason to distrust you, but I have a jealousy problem. You could really help me out if you didn't do those kinds of things. It's not your fault. I'm pretty, I would like to think you wouldn't cheat on me. I have no reason to believe you cheat on me, but I'll tell you, I get paranoid about that kind of thing. So is it okay if you don't do that? You can ask. You can't demand. She could say, "Screw you." That's what we do. We like to, and you're just going to have to trust me. I'm not going to cheat on you. But let's rewind this.
Not put that on me.
I haven't done anything to betray your trust. Get over it.
Liz, since day one, I've had an issue with the people that are in your life. I don't want a girlfriend, let alone a fiancé, let alone a wife that wants to have a girls' night out, that wants to be in a bar.
You want a wife? I am home with you. Stop making it seem...
Yeah, and so that's another angle that he was using previously as well the night before, which is that marriage wife card that he pulls out. That I don't know, but it seems like he uses it as a weapon of just like, I'm going to take it's sort of like when you're trying to train a kid, you're trying to, like, you can get the ice cream when you finish your vegetables, and you have the ice cream nearby, and the kid's like, I want that. Well, finish your vegetables. So that's the tone that I'm picking up. I don't know. You tell me what you think. Do you hear that when he would do that with Rose as well? That sort of and the words he used, and I remember him doing this with Rose maybe more explicitly, but he did it with Liz last night too. This language of just like, I don't want to marry someone, or I don't know if I want to marry you right now. And he says it, I think, as if he believes that is going to highly motivate. Oh no! Don't take away our marriage, and maybe that even kind of works. I don't know.
Like I'm this little party animal when we know who the party animal is.
I'm not saying that. You drink to a...
Right, so she's saying, you're the party animal. You're the one who... Now, maybe both of them are non-cheaters, but now he's about to go into her drinking, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we get to her drinking? How does that even relate to any of this right now? The whole thing was that he was sure that she had a relationship with this woman, and that Liz was a secret lesbian. That's where this all began. So now we're going around the wheel of attacking, the wheel of ammunition, right? So now we were here last night. We're going down the list, and we'll come back around, and he'll say something like, "You're gay."
Point where you can't stand up.
Every single night.
I've never drank to the point where I can't stand up.
You told me when you were drunk the other night that you would rather sleep with Alex and her than me.
Oh, and what have you told me when you're drunk? What do you tell me?
To her.
All right. So, now right here. I mean, at the very least, she's fighting and sticking up for herself, defending herself, I guess. She's responding to his attacking. And you see that demeanor that he has. It's very calm, but in all likelihood, on the inside, he is feeling a lot of distress, and there's a lot of biological processes that are happening along those lines. Just because someone is seemingly calm doesn't mean that they're not having a lot of difficulty on the inside, which would explain the distortion and the unrelenting rigidity, that kind of thing. But she just said that you told me while you were drunk the other night that you would rather have... Let's rewind that.
To the point where I can't stand up.
You told me when you were drunk the other night that you would rather sleep with Alex and her than me.
Oh, and what...
Oh, Alex. Is that woman that they were working with as a model during that photography? I think her name was Alex, was it not? So you told me that you would rather have sex with. I'm laughing not because it's funny. It's just like, whoa, did he say that? And then he doesn't deny it, right?
You
said
told me
that.
when you're drunk. What do you tell me?
To hurt you back?
Yeah, you tell me the same thing.
I never say that I will sleep with some. I just said
bullshit.
you had a small. That's what I said.
Oh, whatever,
I
yeah.
never said
Oh, yeah.
that I'm gonna go screw someone else.
I was probably drunk, and I don't remember
It's
saying
not
that.
Do you see that? So his whole premise, the whole opener to this was, you drink a lot, I don't. You need to stop drinking. And then he eventually gets around to, I don't know, I was probably so drunk I don't remember. And that's that weird logic that is of these sorts of individuals. I don't know if I'm reading him right, but the language, the verbatim communication is not really what's happening. It's the subtext. And the subtext is, so what is it that he wants again? I think he wants her to apologize and also to give up control. I think that's what he's looking for, where she will say, you're right and I'm wrong and I'm so sorry and I don't want to lose you and I did that bad thing and you're right and I will never talk to that person again. In fact, I won't do anything again. I won't go out. I won't drink. I won't hang out with my friends. I won't, or something in that direction. I imagine, we were talking about Angela. I don't know if I've posted that episode yet, but early in this episode, I analyzed Angela's communication, and when there's all this, when it seems very unreasonable and it doesn't make any sense, then one of the ways that you can kind of figure out what's really happening is to figure out, what do I know I could do right now that would get this person who is being rigid and throwing all these different angles at me, what could I do that would get them to stop what they're doing right now? What is it that they're really asking for? What's the outcome that they're really trying to get at? Because they're using all these words and all these attacks, and I keep defending myself, but what's really going on here? With Angela, it's handing over his phone, handing over his car, handing over, canceling his Instagram, committing himself not to working, committing himself to never be online again, those kinds of giving up of control. I think and also saying, I'm sorry, you're right, and I'm wrong. I think that's what she's looking for, right? And she's been really explicit with that. He's more subdued, he's more veiled in this way, more obscure. And so it's harder to know exactly what outcome he's looking for so that he will stop this. But I'm pretty sure, it's in the camp that I was saying.
Okay! You accuse me of something because you're insecure. You're always going to be that way. And you know what? I'm sorry for not letting you walk all over me anymore.
If I'm with the right woman, I'm not insecure. You're obviously not the right woman.
So, yeah, I don't know what category that was in, but it could be that carrot, the marriage carrot and a stick. Like, well, if you want to be the right woman, then you won't make me insecure. But what I'll say is, given what we've seen with Rose and with her, it's not the women, Ed, it's you, which would make total sense. And everyone has this. If, Ed, you are watching, which I can't imagine why you would, but sometimes cast members will. Sometimes I wonder if there are more cast members watching. Not that I really want them to, honestly, because I would really rather have a conversation with them in person so I could kind of have a back and forth with them, because I wouldn't want to say something while I'm reacting to this that would bother them or hurt their feelings in any way or anything. It's really the last thing I want to do. But anyway, so if I were to talk to Ed, I would say, we all have our insecurities. There's nothing wrong with that. You have yours, I have mine, Liz has hers, but you have yours. And once you can admit that, then you can begin to change it.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Unfortunately, life doesn't come with a user manual. Navigating all the various challenges we face can make you feel unsure or stuck in place. Whether it's a relationship, or going through grief, or considering a new career. And, generally speaking, a therapist can really help with that, by helping you to explore your feelings, and by giving you the space to clarify what you want to do. In my life, I can't imagine where I'd be without the therapy I've had. During some of the biggest moments of my life, therapists have been there for me, to slow me down, to listen to me, to help me explore. Well, that's where BetterHelp comes in. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/Kirk. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
You should have never put a ring on my finger then.
Well, it's not on your finger
You
now.
made it very clear I'm not the right woman.
Right,
Please
well,
get
it's
out
not
of
on
my
your
face.
finger now because you threw our engagement ring into
Stop
the bush.
telling me you're not going to marry me. I don't need the ring. Go return it, please. I'm asking you nicely to leave.
Wow. Wait, so this is her place? I thought she was at his place. But he has his dog. Or maybe, anyway. Either way, sounds like she's drawing a line. Okay, well, I'm guessing the audience would be happy to see that. But, you know, who knows? But maybe she's turned a new leaf. Maybe she's now seen... Because that was my whole hypothesis from the beginning, was he walks up to her, and from the outside, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but he walks up to her and it's just like, did you have a relationship with that woman? And if you don't know any of the history or you can't see the tip of the iceberg, you might just be like, well, that's a weird question. And then she's like, she reacted pretty strongly. He asked another question. So like, are you lesbian or something like, or look like you had a relationship, some sort of follow-up question. And then she just bolts, right? So what I saw was, especially in light of that phone conversation, which was leaked and very in that camp of like weird jealousy and attacking. And then I extrapolated from that and say like, well, they probably had more conversations like that, more conflicts like that, where she's crying and pleading. And we also hear about him breaking up with her 8 times. So it was probably things, at least some of them, if not all of them, along those lines. So you add up, so you could imagine that there would be 50 to 100 plus conversations that were like the one on the phone conversation that was leaked. And she hears that tone and the topic, the subject that he's coming at her with, even the demeanor, his facial expression. She's like, oh no, we're not doing this. What's happening? What? No. And then when he doesn't respond, she's like, I know where this is headed. Because look at him right now. She's probably tried to deal with him in a variety of ways, and he just is rigidly and just unrelenting, right? And she detects that right away, and she's like, she just panics and runs, which when I saw that, that's what I was wondering. I was like, is that what I'm seeing? And then it looked more and more like that until now, right? So I wonder if for Liz, she has been reaching her limit ever so slowly. Like the last 5 times she was just like, look, if this happens again, no. And then when she got to this time, she's just like, no. I've thought about it enough. I've been over it enough. I'm drawing a line in the sand. I know exactly what my rights are. I know exactly what happened. He was insecure about something that was very odd. That's not my fault. And he's not admitting it. And if he's not going to admit it and he's going to continue to attack me for drinking, for having friends, for being attacked by someone at our engagement party, like if he's going to continue to do that over and over and over again, then it's easy for me to see now, because in between those moments, I was able to differentiate and kind of look at it and get some insight into, this is not me, this is him.
Please. I'm happy to leave.
And then for him, without therapy, he has, presumably he still is in contact, or he could go back to his old therapist. Maybe that'll help. But the risk is for him is that he will internalize this as yet another moment in which he's being rejected unfairly, and even more reason to be defensive in the future in the way that he is here now. There's another possibility that as he is suffering, which he's exhibiting a little bit right now, it'll tug at her heartstrings and she will end up relenting.
Have a nice life.
Whatever.
I think I rushed. I mean, Liz and I are separated for 6 months. Teddy dies. I'm vulnerable. She comes over. 48 hours, we're engaged, and I did move.
So another love bombing scenario, I don't know, but remember when he was first dating Liz, I talked a lot about love bombing. You can watch those episodes. Also listen to my deep dives on love bombing. Did that happen again? I don't know. We're not hearing any direct evidence of that.
Liz and I are separated for 6 months. Teddy dies. I'm vulnerable. She comes over. 48 hours, we're engaged. And I did move too fast. I really think I made a big mistake. And Richard told me from day one, you're going to be miserable for the rest of your life.
Now, the key is that Liz has support, that she can talk with someone, because if she doesn't have a good person to triangulate with, a good person to get support with, a good person to help her explore her boundaries and her worth, then in all likelihood, there will be a temptation to continue to go into the relationship because I'm guessing she's been here before, where he broke up with her and she was like, I'm done. Like we witnessed it. They were together, they were apart for 6 months. They were at that tell-all. And I think a lot of the viewership was like, okay, good, they're separated. And then you could just see the connections happening. Now, I will say that in that tell-all, he did seem to have grown in therapy. He said he'd been in 6 months of therapy. He talked about how he has a lot of problems, and he seemed to genuinely apologize. But now, in light of this, it just makes me wonder if that was all not entirely sincere. I don't know. But
It's pretty much over.
I'm the one who's always making changes, not him. The only thing that's really changed is he speaks for himself now, but all his behavior stuff is still there.
Yeah, that's in line with what we have been talking about, and it's good that she can reflect on that. It's just like, and I think I've talked about this before with Ed, or with any relationship that you're in, is to think about, because she was saying earlier that she's always admitting that she's wrong, or he never admits, or I can't remember if she was saying that, but that is one of the things you want to think about. If you have a partner that's never admitted that they've done anything wrong, they've never apologized to you for anything, that's a humongous red flag. And sometimes you won't see it because you don't feel like you deserve those kind of things, and of course you do. Or you're terrified of asking that question because you're terrified of the answer.
It doesn't make me feel like I'm his equal.
I do love her. Yeah, we don't like to fight. Like, this sucks, but.
So we've been here before. I think this is genuine, and I do have compassion for him, more so than I would with Angela. I have compassion for Angela as well, of course. But with Ed, it's easier for me to have compassion. But I will say that the more times we see the cycle, seemingly, the less expectation that I have that this is going to turn around, right? I think the first time I saw this when he was with Rose, I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe he'll take an inventory of what's going on. Maybe he'll show Rose some compassion, some altruism, some empathy. And it would seemingly happen, but it wasn't really there. Because, when you've really turned a new leaf and you've really changed, he's suffering right now, no doubt. My hypothesis is that everything that he's doing is because he's trying to run away from this. He's trying to run away from the pain of rejection. But he's doing it in this completely opposite direction of actually alienating people instead of actually being vulnerable with them. If he would have gone to her, and I said this before, if he would have gone to her and said, so Liz, I'm really sorry, but when I saw you fighting with that, coworker of yours, my brain went to some pretty dark places. I was wondering if you were a lesbian. Of course, I have no reason to believe that, but I don't know. My brain, it just goes to these places. I started wondering if you had a relationship with her, which of course wouldn't really matter because I think you were working with her in between our breakups. But I started making all these stories up in my head. And of course, it's not your fault, but I have all these insecurities. I don't know what to do, and I'm starting to completely flip out. And I was thinking about attacking you, but that's not okay. But I don't know. Can you help me here? Okay, Liz probably would have responded well to that. He could do that. He can have those feelings, but when you're unaware and you have come from a family system where there was lack of awareness modeled and there was abuse modeled, I don't know. Did we? I keep forgetting that he was abused by his dad, right? So that would right. Don't put words in my don't put words in my mouth. I don't want to assume that. Let me know in the comments actually if you remember. I need to take notes. Anyway, I'm just going to take a guess and say that sort of attacking verbal behavior was modeled to him, and so it's readily available to him, and it feels right in the moment, and so. We've seen that cycle many times, and when he gets to this point, this is real, but every time this happens, I feel a little less hopeful that things are going to turn around, that he's going to, really apologize. Oh, so we would see him go here, and then we would see him be very conciliatory, not reconciliatory, but conciliatory. I'm sorry, you're right, I did something totally wrong. And then very quickly, Rose or Liz would come back, and then very quickly it would go right back. It would be kind of fun times, but then eventually he'd get triggered, and then he would go on the attack, and then there would be the big blow up, and then he would, if he really was thoughtful and really changed, each time around the cycle, it would look a little different, but it doesn't. It gets worse and worse and worse, which I think means that he's just going through the motions. He's not actually changing, right? And it wouldn't surprise me because based on my hypothesis about him, which I don't know if it's true, it would require a lot of therapy. We're talking years and years, but I think he only went to therapy for 6 months.
Liz said a lot of things. Anyway, sorry. I just feel that I don't have anywhere to go. Like emotionally, I lost half my family that were close to me, and
yeah, it's kind of weird because there's so many other places he could be going. One was what I just role played. Another one is he goes in there and says, Liz, I don't know what's going on. I just don't want to lose you. There's a lot of different things he could be doing. Now, I don't think that'd work, or I don't know. It doesn't seem like it'd work. I think she's crossed the Rubicon at this point, but there's so many other emotional roads available to him that he seemingly never takes because I don't think he knows that they exist.
And I gave them up to be with Liz, and now I don't get to be with Liz. Now now I'm really, I have my dogs.
Okay, so I guess we'll find out what's going to happen. I'm on the edge of my seat, honestly. It's like, where does it go from here? All right, well, tune in next time when we find out. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.